No LeBron news. None whatsoever.
No.
Yesterday,
What a dud.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? We're going to talk about this with our first topic. I don't know that all of this necessarily falls on LeBron. I know a lot of people were getting LeBron hate yesterday. I didn't see him tweet anything or say anything.
Yeah.
That the
We just
decision
were
was coming
speculating.
We speculated.
Everybody speculated, and you know what they say? Speculate at your own risk.
And you know what? For people in the media who are complaining about this, shut up.
Yeah,
we normally have nothing to talk about this
Right?
time of year.
You know what? This is the deadest part of the sports calendar.
I'm thrilled. I mean, I'm hoping he picks the Cavs, and so we're all a little nervous about it. I get it, but you can't be complaining. It's a story.
Yeah, it is.
What's the big deal?
I believe that it's not the size of the story that the media is giving it, but that's because there's nothing else to talk about.
Sure, we're inflating it more, but
the brass tacks is this is a guy who's won one title in the last 9 years, and he's 42. So this isn't like 2014 when he came home.
Sure.
He was still in his prime. He's a good piece.
Yeah.
But he's not the piece
And
anymore.
he's the best free agent on the market.
Right.
Which is it's a really weak free agent.
But
the fact that he's still a difference maker, even though he's not the biggest piece. If he's your best player, you're not good enough.
Right.
But the fact that he's this big a piece still at this age is crazy.
Yeah, it is incredible.
There's nothing else like it.
He's going to retire with every single longevity record ever exists.
Yeah.
Period.
Everything.
He already has most of them.
We were prepared yesterday if he did announce at 1:15. We were going to go live upstairs. We were going to do live stuff down here. So I cut, I don't know. Steve, how many LeBron stats and videos do we have at the bottom of the show? There's like 50.
Yeah.
There's like 13 different.
5,000.
I made like 13 different highlight packages from each of his years early. He was.
Well, this story's going to break at some point.
No, and we have it. But my point is, real quick, he was so athletic and so good. And going back to those early days of Cleveland, I had so much fun yesterday morning sitting through and going back over LeBron James YouTube reel, best of the 2008 MVP season. I was like, I watched him play this summer or this season, and he's still a really good player.
Sure.
But he is a completely different person, athlete, player than he was 15 years ago.
LeBron, for
so
me,
good.
And then you could cue this tape up and just let the whole thing run, was his 25 straight points against the Pistons.
I cut that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Is if you got to put one piece of tape into, and I know that the block in the championship win in 16 was big.
Yeah.
But if you want a 15-minute, 20-minute clip of peak LeBron James and how dominant he could be, just take that 25-point run against the Detroit Pistons in the playoffs. He did everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
What do you do with Jay? Up in the newsroom, when the news breaks? I mean, does that become the whole show?
It depends on what time of day it is, Bill.
Okay,
That's a good question. If it's midday and there's nothing on, we break in.
Yeah.
We'll go until we're out of bullets.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we'll bring in guests.
That was the plan yesterday.
That was the plan yesterday. We were ready to go. We had the same thing. We had, we've got a retrospective piece on his career up to this point.
Yeah.
What this would mean to Cleveland. Obviously, we're gearing all of our coverage if he comes home. If he chooses Miami again,
we're not doing
or
it.
Golden State.
No, sure.
We'll put a crawl at the bottom of the screen, and that'll be that.
Right.
This becomes a massive story for the city of Cleveland if he comes home.
You know, it's funny. Mike and I were talking about a topic for next week that he's doing because PFF has now been around for 20 years, so they made their all-time. Well, they're
in their history.
In their history.
2006 through 2025 seasons.
Every team.
Right.
And he gave me the Browns team. And the only player I didn't remember, I was like, oh, he must have played before I came to Cleveland. I can't remember who it was. It was a safety.
It was a safety who played from 07 to 2010.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't come here until 2011. And I'm thinking, he's the only player I didn't know because I've been covering the Browns for 16, 17 years, whatever. And I'm thinking, well, LeBron has been a story for before PFF, right?
3 years before he came to the league.
LeBron is the only story that's been around for 20 years, essentially.
Bull, you could almost say 30 years.
Right,
because he splashed the cover of Sports Illustrated as a high school
sophomore.
player.
Right. Which was what, 2002? So it's been 25 years.
No, 2001.
2001. So 25 years.
Literally, we're talking a quarter of a century that this guy's been at the front end of the news cycle. And we've talked about this before, not that it needs to be brought up again because I think everybody understands it, but Jordan was great. I don't want to say he flew under the radar because he came in with a great deal of fanfare, but he wasn't the chosen one, and he wasn't even the overall number one pick in his draft. Granted, it was a huge mistake, but LeBron James has carried that title of next since he was 16 years old. He never buckled under the pressure. He never had problems with the law, with drugs,
with the media,
beating women, the media.
Yeah.
He has lived up to this incredible amount of pressure and hype, and he's done it, I think, with incredible grace.
You could argue that part of his career is equally, if not more impressive than the actual on-court stuff that he's done. And he's, in my opinion, the best or second best player. I didn't see MJ play long enough to have, he's the best player I've ever personally seen. But look at how many guys trip up with their off-court, off-field stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And he's never done it.
He's been married forever.
Yeah.
High school sweetheart. They have kids from all accounts. Terrific
great father. Great father. Great example.
Everything's charity. His charity work in Akron, the 330 foul. Everything LeBron has done off the court. And it's crazy to say because I think he's the greatest player I've ever seen play.
Yeah. And he hasn't tripped up off
I think it's just as impressive what he's done off the court.
His biggest scandal is the way he handled the decision.
Right. The first decision.
If that's the biggest thing that you can throw darts at for this guy, that's pretty incredible.
It is.
It's pretty incredible.
Did you hear, I don't know, something that he did yesterday? I heard Jonathan and Nick play this clip where I think it was a kid in the audience got to ask him a question.
Mm-hmm. They did fan questions, yeah.
Yeah, and so somebody asked, I think it was a kid, doesn't matter, but they asked him, how old do you think you could play and still average 10 points a game in the NBA? God. And he said, I think to 65. Now I don't know, but I wouldn't bet against them.
Well, I'm 61, and I know how my body feels. I saw Brett Favre wore a shirt in an interview a couple of weeks ago. I liked it so much I ordered it. It literally says everything hurts.
Yeah.
And that is the most if anybody asks me how I feel, that's in a two-word answer, the shortest way. Everything hurts.
Yeah.
And I know LeBron feels that way now. God, when I was 42. I felt like I was 20.
Yeah.
Now looking back to how I feel at 61 compared to 42, I feel like I've been hit by a truck 12 times.
But you're still playing ball.
I am, but not nearly at the level I once did.
No, I know, and neither would he. I'm not saying he could do it to 65.
I don't know, I think
but
50.
if anybody could,
it's him.
It would be him.
You're right about that.
I would give him till 50. In today's,
I was going to say
100% till 50.
50 for sure.
Absolutely.
But after 50, with how the league is transitioning to a more up and down league, everyone's more athletic. There's very
think
few.
at 50 he could definitely still average 10 again.
I agree, yeah.
Which is insane.
I agree.
It is insane. It really is.
The favorite LeBron stat real quick, which shows his longevity. He has played against someone born in 2006. Cooper Flagg is the youngest player he's ever played. And he played against someone born in 1962 in Kevin Willis. 1962, the oldest player he ever played against.
That's a 40-year span.
In 2000, I mean, that is...
probably this year there'll be somebody from 2007, so it'll be another year.
Will be.
That will change,
right.
Exactly.
One thing that was funny that he said yesterday that I really think it puts the whole thing in perspective.
Yeah.
He said, I have a 22-year-old son who is now a former teammate. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's insane. It really is incredible. And I hope that his legacy is a case that will back off of all the criticism, because the criticism is he's not Michael Jordan. That literally is.
In terms of winning.
In terms of winning.
Yeah, right.
My hope is that as we get further away from his last dribble, and whenever that is, my hope is that the public sentiment against him will ease up a little bit. And we can say, because now when you have the argument with someone who's clearly MJ, they almost disparage LeBron James, and neither should ever be disparaged in that argument.
No, I think anybody. The argument is fun, but it's also silly because
you're never changing someone's mind,
and it's subjective to what your criteria is personally,
and the different eras.
Right, but the people that dismiss one or the other in the argument are ridiculous.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't be disparaged.
It's obvious. It's obviously for those of us like you and I who have saw them both play their whole careers. It's obviously a tough call who's the best. To me, I mean, I don't know how you could say
I agree
it's clearly
with you.
one or the other.
Anybody that starts the argument with this, the answer is clearly they're wrong.
No. Right.
They're wrong
Yes,
LeBron has definitely had some troubles in the finals, but it's been to what, 10?
Yeah, he gets knocked for losing 5.
Michael made it to 5. Now, he won all 5.
6.
But 6.
Right.
He had a three-peat, took 2 years off, three-peat. And then LeBron gets dinged for making finals before he was supposed to make. How do you hold the 07 finals against LeBron?
Yeah, he was swept in the finals. Michael Jordan.
He had the 2011, the loss to Dallas. That's a black mark on his resume. Like, that's a series they should have won.
Yeah.
No argument against
it.
He played poorly. The other series, he was not favored in any of the finals.
They not only were not favored, but they were big underdogs in them, including the year they won here in Cleveland.
All right, a lot to get to. It all started with his criticism that a lot of folks I thought were sending his way, because some people, I don't know why, I don't know where this started. Some people were under the impression that LeBron had been advertising that the decision was coming yesterday. The one thing, if anybody's going to take hit in this, it should be Tyrese Halliburton. He's the one that tweeted out yesterday, "Today's the day."
Well, it was the day that he sat in a podcast with him, but
nobody's sitting around going, when is Tyrese going to get to finally sit down with LeBron?
He was stoking the flame, for sure.
He stoked the flames. Yeah. And when he was finally, and now this podcast doesn't drop until Tuesday, that was another huge misconception. The entire universe was dialed in to mind the game, waiting for that, like we do at 10 o'clock. We do what's called a live recording. It's live because we're actually putting it out there.
Right.
And it's called a recording because it lives forever and you can watch it whenever. They have always referred to Mind the Game as a live recording.
It should be a live taping.
So what they should say is, and not even live, when the word live is mentioned, the consuming public thinks, oh, I can watch it as it happens.
Right.
What that means is it's being recorded live to tape, but for distribution at another time.
That's what they do with all the talk shows on TV.
Absolutely. When you turn on at 11:30 at night, you want to watch Kimmel. That's not live.
No, you recorded it earlier that day.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of that was lost in translation. I cannot tell you how many people were blowing up my phone at 1:15, 1:16. Where's the podcast? Where is it?
People upstairs. We're all down here. Kinder, Dunnigan, Jason Lloyd, myself, Ant, sitting here with that TV on right there, waiting on the YouTube channel.
And we're in the business.
Hitting refresh. They ended up tweeting it out, or putting it on their Instagram, saying, hey, this is being live to the audience. We will drop said episode on Tuesday.
I don't know why they wait till Tuesday.
I know, it doesn't make much sense. They might clean it up with some edit.
They edit it, but...
Right, but 6 days?
I know, that's
insane. As soon as we learned that it wasn't
especially
live,
when there could be news made.
We knew there was no chance he was going to announce it.
That's
as soon as it wasn't
So what is he doing today now? He's doing something today, LeBron.
They have the shop, which is a
live?
No, I don't think so. I think that's
live broadcast. It's a live
to be turned.
Yes.
So that's probably not going to be on there either.
It won't be on there, and they're doing another Mind the Game podcast live taping. Once again, not live stream, not like UCSS where you could be watching on your phone as we are speaking now. It is a live taping.
But
I don't anticipate a decision today.
I don't give LeBron a lot of grief or hate over, we were duped.
No, he never said that.
You were duped at your own peril. No, but I know a lot of the people out there were tweeting yesterday, and a lot of the media even were saying, what's LeBron doing? He's leading us to believe that it's going to happen. He didn't lead anybody to believe anything.
No. We let ourselves.
When he went on CNBC, which was also a taped interview, but later in the day, he went on CNBC and he said something to the effect of, I'm not going to keep you all waiting much longer. Now, define much longer. I had said yesterday on Channel 3, if you're a passenger in the car and you have to use the bathroom and the driver tells you, well, it's not going to be much longer. 5 minutes could be too long.
Is that 5 or is that 30 minutes?
Right.
That's a big difference.
Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it a month? I have no idea. But one way or another, we're going to get this decision. One interesting thing, guys, and I know I probably follow this closer than most because I have a friend that's in that predictive business.
Yeah, you're all over the Kalshi.
I have been following the Kalshi, not just Kalshi also, but the poly market too.
Right.
I'm fascinated at the different odds that are.
But isn't it purely based on what people are spending their money on? So it's not like based on inside information.
Basically, what it is it's not like a public opinion poll,
right?
Because there's money at stake.
Yeah, sure.
And in the case of, and I haven't looked this morning, but last night, late when I looked, there had been $130 million wagered. On where LeBron's going to go. Now, that creates a whole nother set of problems, by the way.
Yeah.
Where there's that kind of money, how can there not be fraud? How can there not be? Because there are people that, if the decision's been made, but not relayed, people know. That's the size of that circle might be very, very small.
And even if there's no fraud in this particular situation, there will be in others.
There already has been.
Yeah.
Yesterday in the news cycle, it came out that Donald Trump had fired his teleprompter operator.
Right.
Because he was placing bets on Kalshi and Polymarket on things that would be said in the speech. And that's why I say,
serious?
so here's another thing you could bet on.
Is that
the
real?
Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
No, that's a true story. It happened yesterday.
I didn't see that.
Here's another example that I remember when I was working at ESPN. There was a very, very small circle that knew the winner of the Heisman. That award is controlled, at least from a production standpoint, by ESPN. But there were people that knew the winner the day before.
Yeah.
Graphics had to be built. Shows had to be stacked and produced.
Skeleton,
And so that circle of people that knew was always very small, but there were people that knew.
Yeah, it seems crazy.
And so
the NCAA tournament brackets, those guys must know an hour or two before, right?
People that are on the committee that are texting or slipping notes to friends. We saw one very prominent guardian get caught up in the basic
mailing pot to his dog.
No, yeah, that too. That happened. But you can get caught up in the notion that, oh my God, this is the easiest money I'll ever make.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
And now Emmanuel Clase will likely never throw another pitch in Major League Baseball ever again because that temptation existed. Can you tell me with a straight face that if there was someone in LeBron's inner circle, which is probably 3 people, that the urge and temptation wouldn't be there to get word to somebody outside 100G that he's going here?
Yeah.
It's like you know the lottery numbers in advance.
I know. By the way, you want to feel old for a minute?
Yeah.
Did you see?
Not really. I already do.
Cecil Fielder's grandson just got drafted this year.
Grandson?
His grandson.
Is that Prince Fielder's
Prince
kid?
Fielder's son. Yeah.
Now, are Cecil and Prince reunited because their relationship?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, their
relationship. I just phrased it that way just because.
But it's fascinating.
I'm like, I remember Cecil. I know a lot of guys I watch play have their kids in the league.
But now you're talking
grandkids?
3 generations that you were old enough to remember many things about their career.
Right, like when, I guess, right, because with the Boones, I didn't know Ray Boone.
No.
Like, he was before my time.
I didn't either. I didn't either. But now the Bells were another one. Buddy Bell played, and then his son played. His father played. I don't remember his father playing.
Gus Bell was the father, was the grandfather.
Yeah, right.
But again, he was before our time.
That's insane.
But now, if this kid gets to the majors, it's 3. I mean,
that's crazy, and he likely will. If bloodlines have anything to do with
that first year, by the way, I know we're off track here, but that first year that Cecil Fielder hit all those home runs,
it's incredible.
That was crazy.
It was incredible
because that was a stretch of time. Like if you're young, you don't remember this.
I have no idea.
That was a stretch of time where there were not a lot of guys hitting a ton of home runs.
Remember, there was a drought of 50.
Yeah,
forever. George Foster did it in the 70s.
Right,
and then we went into the 90s before we had the late 90s.
And then Cecil hit
48 or something.
And he was huge,
massive.
Like. Before guys got that big.
Are you old enough to remember the Bird?
Mark Fidrich?
Mark the Bird Fidrich.
As a young kid, I remember him,
I was like maybe 6 or 7.
I
remember I was a huge baseball fan already at the time, but I remember he took the game completely by storm. This is a guy that used to get down on his hands and knees, and he would hand groom the mound. He had all these idiosyncrasies. He was called the Bird because he literally resembled Big Bird from Sesame Street.
For me, I think more of he didn't have these idiosyncrasies, but set the baseball world on fire was Fernando Valenzuela, of course. And then Doc Gooden, a couple of years.
In 84 or whatever that was.
84.
It was
no, I'm sorry. It was 83.
They won in 86.
It was,
He and Strawberry came up together.
They won in 86.
Yeah, they won the next one in 86.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically on the LeBron front, and I think this is where you want to go. Do you want to ask the question, if you were LeBron? That's where he wants to go. Ant's behind the glass today. We can communicate with a glance.
If you were LeBron, where would you go?
Where would you go? If you're LeBron James and you haven't yet made the decision,
to me,
where are you picking?
To me, it's easy. I'm not biased at all. It would be Cleveland.
Yeah.
And here's why. I don't think, money doesn't matter if you're LeBron at this point. So I'm not even considering money. So to me, it's where am I going to be happy? Where am I going to be appreciated the most?
Yeah.
Which is in the same vein, and then third, where do I have the best chance to win?
See, I think that would be first.
It might be. And I don't think the Cavs give him the best chance to win, but I think it's close enough that the other 2 things are going to be way better here, and that's why I'd take it. I would think, of the teams he's seriously considering, I think the Cavs have just as good, if not a better chance than Miami to win.
Agree.
A better chance than Golden State to win. Just as good, if not a better chance than Minnesota. I think Philly might have a little bit of a better chance, but the other positives for Cleveland are so much better than Philly that would override that difference for me.
Right.
And so I'd ultimately, to me, it's a no-brainer Cleveland.
I think there's only two choices for LeBron.
Cleveland or Philly? Or no,
Cleveland or Golden State. And I only say that because, and I'll use an example last night. I played basketball at Menor last night. It's the same 4-on-4 group I've played with, I told you about. Never played with my guy, JD. And last night I got a chance to play with my guy, JD. It worked out. We gelled. Chemistry was through the roof. Really tough to guard JD's style and my style together.
Yeah.
And there are certain players that you just...
I mean, you guys are known for having tough chemistry, maybe.
But there's just some certain players you want to play with. And it's fun to play with your friends, and it's fun to play with people that complement your style. Steph and LeBron have that relationship. They've talked about it openly. We saw it in the Olympics when they won the gold medal. He has open admiration for Steve Kerr. So if he decided, hey, I want to go play with Steph and Draymond and my friends in Golden State and close out my career with this organization that I've admired forever, I would get it. But the choice is Cleveland for all the reasons you said. No fan base is going to appreciate him like the Cleveland fan base would. I don't think there's any drastic difference in your ability to win a championship with Cleveland, with Golden State, with Philly. Minnesota's a whole different story. I don't think they're realistic. Miami gives them the worst chance. And lastly, Chris Renkel said this yesterday. I thought he nailed it. Michael Jordan didn't stick the landing when he finished his career.
No, he didn't. He fumbled it.
Yeah.
LeBron has a chance to complete the circle and stick the landing on a historic, legendary career, and it would only happen if he either wins a championship, which I think is unlikely regardless of where he goes, or if he comes home to his hometown team, to the Cleveland Cavaliers, to wrap up his career.
Even though the Cavs have a really good team and he would not be the best player here, he would get, if he cares about these things, and I think he does, I think on some level everybody cares about these things, he would get the most credit for a championship, even though I agree it's not overly likely, for winning here.
Yeah. How is 5 greater than 6 if number 5 comes when you're 42 years old in your hometown?
That's right.
That's how 5 is greater than 6.
Yeah.
I agree. Michael Jordan fumbled the landing horribly. Their team was bad. Washington, he went out on a decline. No, it made no sense. The one thing that gives me pause about him coming to Cleveland, and by the way, my answer to is Cleveland. I'm a homer. I can't take that out. So I admit that up front. But the one thing that gives me pause is LeBron loves to be surrounded by his buddies. Look what he did when he graduated from St. Vincent St. Mary's. He took his high school crew and started his agency and his basically business side of LeBron James. He loves being surrounded by his boys.
Yeah.
In Miami, he had his boys.
Yep.
With the Lakers, I think he was chasing something that he couldn't catch.
He started with his boys by getting Anthony Davis and
he
KCP.
started there. Now, where are his boys today? Well, if you had to pick the guys that I think he's closest with and he most wants to play with, that's in Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The wrinkle in all of this is, could there be a deal that's being talked about and worked out behind the scenes that no one knows about that includes bringing one of LeBron's boys
Absolutely.
back?
Anthony Davis.
Kevin Love. Anthony Davis. So we don't know about those things. Right now, as I'm looking at Kalshi, Golden State and Cleveland are tied at 32%. That right now is the exact odd.
Yeah.
Not long ago, within 24 hours, the Cavs had a 10% lead in that. So a lot of the late money has been coming in on Golden State. I don't know why. I don't know how these things move other than opinion.
Right. It's not based on inside info.
No, it's certainly not scientific. It's basically where the money is going, if you want to follow those things.
Where the smoke in the wind is blowing.
That's exactly right. I think that if he's trying to write the final chapter of his incredible novel, to me, if he goes to Golden State, he not just alienates his biggest fan base, but he almost begs them to hate him forever. You went where?
Yeah.
You went, that would be like
and we know LeBron
a Brown at his prime going to the Steelers.
Joe Hayden.
Willingly. Well, the Browns were done with Joe Hayden. So I just think that, and I do think he thinks about these things, legacy and image and all of that. The best final chapter he could write would not be teaming up with his old adversaries.
Right.
It would be coming home and winning again with a completely different group of players 11 years after he last did it
right.
for number 5.
And with a really good team that is flamed out. and needed that killer instinct in the playoffs, which he can provide still.
And without saying it, LeBron, when he holds that Larry O'Brien trophy, would be saying silently, y'all just couldn't get over that hump without me.
That's right.
And a 42-year-old James had to come back to do it again.
And it would stick it to Dan Gilbert, too.
Of course it would.
And by the way, let's face it, the number one reason LeBron is going to ultimately come home is he misses Jason Lloyd.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope so.
He wants to hang with Jason.
Hey, LeBron, you could announce on UCSS.
Yeah.
Open invite, LeBron.
Yeah, whatever you like. We'll come on the air at 12:30 in the morning.
I don't care what time.
2 o'clock in the morning, whatever
Anytime.
it is. LeBron, if you want to make that announcement on UCSS, we're here for you, brother.
Okay, just wait until Sunday night so I'm back in town because I want to be a part of that.
All right. Did you get that, LeBron?